Hi guys, Senator Gerard Rennick from the People First Party. I'm just about to fly back to Brisbane from Canberra after a week in estimates. As usual, I've had the usual wall-to-wall filibustering and brick walls of no answers, etc., etc. But I thought I'd just give a quick summary of some of the key points that I got out of estimates this week. On Monday, I spoke to the RRAT Committee about the Avoca Road funding from the federal government. That's basically the road that goes to Anthony Albanese's house, his new house in Copacabana. After the election last year, the funding for that road increased from $30 million to $100 million from the federal government. Now, what's interesting about that is that's not a federal highway, and the initial election commitment was $30 million. Now, when that funding was increased, the New South Wales government didn't fund that. So there needs to be serious questions asked about why the Labor government is funding a road that runs straight to Anthony Albanese's new house. I think there needs to be a lot more scrutiny over that. And can I just compare that to a few years ago, where there was a big hullabaloo over buying 30 acres of land out at Leppington Triangle for the Western Sydney Airport for just $30 million. And yet here we have a situation where we've got a Prime Minister who's actually gone and funded an extra $70 million for a very obscure road that leads to, the suburb in which he lives, Copacabana Beach. So I think there needs to be much greater scrutiny about that. I think that's a much bigger deal than even upgrades, which really cost Qantas money. It doesn't cost the taxpayer money. So that was the first issue. The second issue was on Tuesday night where I spoke with ASIO. Now, for some strange reason, the story about this spy that sold out his country and his party and Australia to a foreign power has got very little media attention. Now, earlier in the year, Mike Burgess, the head of ASIO, gave his annual assessment or annual threats report. It's an annual report given by the head of ASIO every year, in which he spoke about this politician that sold Australia out. And he said he couldn't prosecute this politician because the Espionage Act hadn't yet been introduced. But there's another section of another piece of legislation called the Criminal Code Act, Section 142.2 of the Criminal Code Act, Commonwealth Criminal Code Act, that says a public servant should not seek a benefit for himself, and if he has, he is committing an offence. Now, the question I put to Mr. Burgess on Tuesday night and subsequently the Australian Federal Police on Wednesday night was why haven't they actually prosecuted this politician under this particular section? Now, what's really annoying about this is that a Brisbane barrister has written to the AFP and ASIO a number of months ago about this, advising them of this particular piece of legislation, and both ASIO and the Australian Federal Police have done nothing about it. Now, I have real issues about this. I find it very strange whenever I see the two major parties just ignore an issue. I know that there's something going on, and there's something going on with this politician. I don't know what it is, but this politician, any official who sells out his own country should be sent to jail. And yet we've got here the ASIO and the AFP not interested in prosecuting this particular politician or ex-politician. So I'll continue to pursue that, and you'll see the questioning as we get the videos made up over the next few weeks. On Wednesday, I spoke with the Australian Tax Office, and one of the things I usually touch on when I do talk with the Australian Tax Office is about money that gets siphoned from Australia to Ireland. And one of the things I found out, thanks to this official who told me this, was that Australia hasn't updated its double taxation agreement with Ireland since 1983. Now, I was absolutely gobsmacked to hear that, because back in 1983, Ireland had a company tax rate of 40 cents. Since that time, its company tax rate has come down to 12.5 cents. But despite that, we have not updated our double tax agreement with Ireland, which means, and I've said this to you many times before, because Ireland has a company tax rate of 12.5 cents, Australia has a withholding tax rate on royalties paid to Ireland from Australian companies of 10 cents. 12.5 plus 10 cents, 22.5 cents is less than 30 cents here. When you've got multinationals like Pfizer shifting $1 billion every year to Ireland, they're saving $75 million for the sake of a couple of book entries. Not to mention the $1 billion in capital we lose by letting that money go to Ireland rather than retaining it here. So we need to be dealing with that particular issue as well. So I'll follow up on that, and you'll see my questioning on that. And then the last issue that is a real concern, of course, is our good friends at the TGA, who continue to stonewall me all the time yesterday. They really are a disgrace, this organisation. The entire Department of Health and the TGA are an absolute disgrace. And the issue this time is that I finally got a copy of an autopsy report that was performed on a 52-year-old man that died a week after receiving the Pfizer vaccine. The autopsy, which was prepared by a pathologist, stated that this man's death was as a result of the Pfizer vaccine. Now, despite being told this, the TGA did not tell the Australian public that the Pfizer vaccine had killed a man. And that was basically, and that's the result of the autopsy. And the TGA, being the TGA, have completely ignored that or are claiming that they're arguing, and you'll see this in the clips, that they didn't override anyone or anything like that. It was just according to World Health Organization guidelines that, they didn't need to report it. How they come up with that logic is beyond me. But of course, that then begs the question, how many other autopsy reports have they ignored? We will never know because, as you well know, these people are incapable of telling the truth. But I do believe that what their behaviour, their negligent behaviour in refusing to properly disclose the risks of this vaccine that then led to more injuries and more deaths is absolutely criminal. And these guys, and I've got another 7 months left in this term. I'm not sure where I'll be after this term, but I can tell you I'm going to continue to pursue these guys right up to the end of this term, because we now have solid evidence that they have ignored expert advice from the Health Department and the autopsy report itself. And for these guys to stonewall that advice is completely disgraceful. Anyway, I'm about to hop on a plane to head back home for the weekend. I hope you have a great break. A great restful weekend, and no doubt we'll be talking again next week and the week after that. Bye.